been around for 27 years, been doing this for quite some time. We've got a little over 120 team members. We're a 2-time Partner of the Year winner, Microsoft Partner of the Year winner. We've won Best Places to Work for 3 years in a row. We've got 14 different golds and silver Microsoft competencies. And as you can see, we've done a lot of work with a lot of customers, and I've seen a lot of success there. And while today we're talking about Microsoft Viva and its extensions into Microsoft 365, we're also a company who covers a lot of different areas to help kind of give a complete business solution for our customers that we work with. We've got 6 different practice teams that are listed here on this slide. You can see we've got our ERP team, which is primarily around accounting, manufacturing, inventory, fulfillment, etc. We've got a CRM team that handles marketing, sales, customer service, field service, project operations. Our cloud team that handles a lot with Microsoft 365 as well as with Azure. Collaboration and content team, which is who you're hearing from today, that deals with Viva, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive. A data and BI team that covers obviously business intelligence, but also a lot with AI and machine learning. And then we have a change management and adoption team that helps our customers adopt the software that we're helping to configure for them and making sure they're getting good use out of it. So that is an overview of JourneyTEAM. I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Kip and Brent and let them wow us with their knowledge about Viva.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mark. All right, so Brent and I are both in the same room. So first off, if you see me looking sideways, it's because we're having a conversation, and that's going to be most effective actually as us tackling this conversation around Microsoft Viva together. And because of that, we'll kind of have to mute each other and kind of balance this out a little bit. Like Mark mentioned, I'm Kip Sorensen. I'm a member of the Collaboration and Content Services team, which is really a fancy word for the team that focuses around all things knowledge management across SharePoint, Teams, as well as business process automation around Power Automate, custom application dev. In fact, one of our team members is doing a presentation on a custom Teams app that they've done recently for a client, and so that's another session. So our specialty is around primarily on the technology front is really enterprise search, SharePoint on-prem, SharePoint in the cloud, Microsoft Teams, and then kind of the Power Platform and how it might relate to what we do. I'm glad to be accompanied with Brent Tenney, one of our senior solution architects. Brent and I'm just going to introduce you if that's okay. Brent and we're the old dogs at the company. So it's funny, like him and I, we reminisce sometimes about the old days of old versions of SharePoint and how things have progressed over the years. But when going gets tough and we have to do really complex stuff, Brent's kind of our go-to guy on our team. That will kind of be able to bring his expertise and talents to the table and help our clients. So let's jump into it. You good? So Viva, Microsoft Viva is really broken down into 4 modules. There's actually a new module, by the way, and we'll talk about that new module. And I'm going to launch a poll for our meeting for those that are in attendance. And if you don't mind, I'd really love to have you guys answer this. But what usage of Viva occurs currently in your guys' organization today? And this is a multi-selection survey, so feel free to select none or multiple areas. This is insightful for us so we can tailor the conversation a little bit better. But nonetheless, we'll go over each of these 4 modules and the 5th module. And Viva Insights, think of this as employee engagement and well-being. Topics is a little bit of a play in the area of a knowledge base. It's kind of unique. We'll talk about what that looks like with a little bit of artificial intelligence being executed on the back end. And then we'll be able to go over Microsoft Learning, which is kind of the latest, right? And this is Microsoft kind of playing in this LMS space. I'm hesitant to say that because it's not one, and we'll show you what it looks like today as well as it's coming. And then ultimately we'll talk about Viva Connections. I have my opinion about it, but I'll let Brent share his opinion about what Viva Connections is. But think of it as just your intranet and Teams, if you want to use that term. We'll do this. We're going to give you a brief summary of what each of these modules are. And then the majority of this presentation today is just demoing. We're just going to show you what each of these modules look like in production today. And then we'll show you kind of a summary slide of what's present today versus what's coming in the near future and what Microsoft is planning on releasing, probably next year or so. And yeah, and don't hold us to that, right? It's probably never that Microsoft has released something that they said was going to originally be released. So don't hold us to Microsoft's timelines, but the timelines we do give you guys, we get from Microsoft. All right, so based upon our surveys really quick, so we're at 15% of us on the call are using Connections, 31%, so more people using Insights, a little bit of Topics usage, very little Learnings usage, and then 31% using none of these modules from Microsoft Viva. So we'll make sure that you guys get a breath of what this looks like. And then as well, I'll cover a new licensing SKU that Microsoft has made available so we can kind of understand what the licensing looks like on the back end, because that's always confusing. Cool. All right, let's jump into Connections, and I'll hand it on over to Mr. Tenney.
Hey guys, we're going to talk about Viva Connections here. Kip said it well, I think. It's basically your internet and Teams, but they've got a bunch of fluffy marketing for that. It's an employee gateway, or your gateway to your digital workplace is how Microsoft likes to describe it. You can see here a screenshot of it. You've got both a mobile app that we'll cover at the end and then a desktop version of it. Either way, they're both in Teams itself. So the idea is you're not having to jump outside of the Teams ecosystem or environment too much to do it. I'm going to go ahead and take over screen sharing and show you what this looks like. So here's my Teams client. Don't worry about all of our other messages there. So over on the left, you've got your normal activity feed, chat, Teams, calendar, calls, files, and then some other apps. And one of those apps available is Teams. Are you guys seeing my screen, by the way? Yeah, it looks like it. All right. So Viva Connections is the app. And when I hit that, it takes me over to the home site, essentially just embedded here in Teams. So this is a SharePoint site that I'm looking at. And you can see we put some quick links here. There's a dashboard web part that we'll talk about in a minute, and a feed here. This is pretty simple, but essentially I'm just looking at a SharePoint site within Teams. I can still jump back over to chat or my calendar or calls. I'm right here in the Teams workspace, but I'm looking at my my intranet, my landing page. And there are a few elements here that come into play pretty significantly. This dashboard uses adaptive cards. And I can customize that, and I can use audience targeting so that every employee gets their own customized experience of what that dashboard looks like. This feed here, there's not much I can do to customize it, but it uses the Graph API to pull in different news from across my organization, from my organization news sites in SharePoint specifically, Yammer, conversations, and it presents that data here as a feed, they call it. And then the last element of this that's kind of relevant is the global navigation. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like. I'm going to jump over to SharePoint. We'll talk about how this gets configured real quickly. Start out with, you need a home site. So in the admin center, under settings, there's this home site option, and you can specify a home site. And I've done that here. That's my site/home site, SharePoint site. And that site looks like this. Let's get out of the global nav for just a minute. Come on. Okay, so here's my home site, and there's kind of four elements that are significant, that impact my Viva Connections experience. One is the homepage of the site is what's going to show up when you hit the Viva Connections app inside of Teams. So it's going to look like this, and I can add things here. We've added these quick links here. I can choose the layout for web parts, and whatever I put here is going to be what employees see when they hit the Viva Connections app. Secondly, the global navigation shows up in a couple of places. I can, by virtue of making it a home site, I have this option to set up global navigation, and then I can customize this, and this becomes relevant both in the mobile app under resources and as I'm navigating through the Viva Connections desktop experience. The third thing is this dashboard, which looks like this, and I've got two views of it. I'm going to go ahead and edit this. There's a desktop view that's just a horizontal layout basically, and then a mobile view. And I can add the cards and I can rearrange them. Cards come in basically 5 flavors. So there's a web link, which is probably going to be a go-to for a lot of people. You can link out to resources on the web. There's a Teams app. So if there's an app I'm using within the Teams ecosystem, I can link to that. Then they've got these Microsoft service ones. So approvals, assigned tasks, shifts are all components that Microsoft has added that you can add in as a card. And then the other options are you can add a partner integration. I don't have any of those set up, but things like Qualtrics and some of the others have integrations that you can turn on. And if you're using that service, you can render those here. And we'll go over the list of that in a minute. And then the last one is you can customize this using SharePoint Framework custom development and add your own adaptive cards and make it look like whatever you want. But that's really one of the big components of Connections is this dashboard. Like I said, there's desktop view and a mobile view. Microsoft actually recommends, and you saw that I did on the homepage, that you use the vertical layout. That's kind of the mobile view. There's not a whole lot to that web part itself. You can choose how many cards to show. And then on the dashboard itself, when you're editing that, you can choose the size of the cards, and there's just a medium and a large. So if I'm in here editing, you can see this one's twice as wide. I just set that to large. And I can audience target each individual card, like I said. So you can set up audience targeting and really give people a customized experience. The last thing is the feed. That's kind of a black box. There's not much you do to the feed. It's literally a web part with like no options to customize. There are no settings available. It just comes from Microsoft's black box graph, and it gives you a feed of news that's hopefully relevant to you, and it's trying to use some machine learning to accomplish that. And then I want to jump over and show you the mobile app real quick. So let me see if I can share this properly. All right, you guys should see my screen here, I hope. Yep. And then right here in my mobile app, I've got the Viva Connections app. And if I jump into that, I don't see the whole SharePoint web experience. I just see these 3 areas. Dashboard, which is that dashboard that I set up before, and you can see it's laid out just like it was on the mobile view. The feed, which is that news and announcements area that shows up there. And then resources, which is the global navigation links that I set up in the global nav on that home site. And that's kind of what there is with Viva Connections. Let's jump back to our slides. Kip, if you don't mind sharing the slides again. And we'll go. So the current state is that they've released the mobile app for general availability. There's a developer website to help you with extensibility. You've got that dashboard, the feed, resources, and it's basically just this intranet in Teams. You're looking at your branded application experience within the Teams desktop client. In the future, they'll be adding additional partner integrations, and you can see some of those listed there: Workday, Edcast, Zebra, Reflexis, Blue Yonder, and Espresso, and I'm sure they'll keep adding to those as they go. And that's essentially going to be more cards available to show in your dashboard. Okay. So on to Insights, I think, Kip.
Thanks, Brent. All right, Viva Insights. This is the, I don't know, employee well-being, feel good, warm and fuzzy, as well as a little bit around work-life balance. Yeah, if I had to summarize it. So really quick for those on the call. So that you have a little chat box at the top of your Teams client, has like a little question mark. That's the Q&A chat. I made a post in there saying, hey, put your questions here. So keep us updated, guys. Let us know what questions you have as we go through this. And we'll of course give ourselves enough time towards the end to dive into any questions you guys might have. I broke down Viva Insights into these categories: reflections, kind of analytics around what things are looking like and around your activities. Then there's key activities in which you can take as an employee. You can praise other colleagues, meditation integration with Headspace. And then these kind of more important top actions: staying connected with other individuals on your team, protecting your time, reviewing of your Microsoft To-Do tasks, doing a virtual commute. And then there's the My Analytics and My Email, which used to be the Cortana email. And then it was like My Analytics email. And now it's the Insights email. And I'll show you all of these areas as we dive right into this. So let me go ahead and end the presentation here and pull up my Teams client. And Brent, maybe you confirm that you're getting my screen. My wonderful calendar. You guys can see I'm not very busy. All right, let's hop into Insights. So first off, if you guys wanted to, we'll cover licensing later. But if licensing is in play, Viva Insights is just an app that you would add to your Microsoft Teams. So let's first talk about the home screen here. So what's up? First off, this good afternoon, make it a today count. I don't know, it's a little inspirational. And that top image there at the top will also tell me the next meeting. Sometimes it'll say, oh, you have this meeting coming up in 15 minutes or whatever. How you are feeling is a rating that actually is only available to me. These are my reflections. And I can actually see trends in some of the analytics of like, if I'm happy all the time or if I'm pissed off or I don't know, whatever. So kind of, let's be frank, it's kind of a feel good. I don't see this being used too often, but some of these features are really great. The second one in activities for you, I can actually send praises. So this is kind of neat. So for instance, I can click on send a praise. I select a badge and I can say maybe team player, and I can enter Brent's name. And then this will automatically send him this badge in a one-to-one chat. Or if I kind of want to make it publicly known, right, I can select the team that we're both part of. And then it will see channels, right, thoughts and fun stuff. I don't know if it makes sense to have there. And I can see what it's going to look like, and then I can hit send. And that will actually make a post within Teams, tagging Brent and sending that, little badge. Okay, so that's the extent of the employee recognition. And I do have some opinions about if there's some APIs in the future, right? I could see us making that post instead of in a Teams chat, that showing up on the intranet, on the homepage, being more publicly pronounced across the organization, maybe even customizing the badges, right, and tying those to company values. I don't even know if any of that's possible, but it's something that's been crossing my mind as we prep for this presentation of like what's available on the API side, right, and what things could we change. If you guys haven't used Headspace, I have actually used Headspace for years. And so I was actually really excited about Headspace's integration with Viva Insights. But what Headspace does is they do, what's the term? It's almost like a walked through meditation when someone's like, okay, focus on this. And it's a really great way to decompress. I think meditation is actually a huge value. Obviously, it must be popular enough for Microsoft to do some integration with Headspace, but it's available there for employees' well-being. And then these top actions right here across the bottom are really about staying connected with people, protecting my time, and the tasks that I have in Microsoft to do, which I'll really cover. You can interact with them here, but really what they do is they jump over into these two sections across the top. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into those. So staying connected, as you can see as this loads, it pulls data from Exchange, from my email, and it will also pull up who my team members are from Active Directory and look how often I've met with them, as well as if I have an email, let's say, and Brent shot me an email and I reply back to the email and said, hey, Brent, yeah, I'll get you that. That will flag Viva Insights of like, oh, we think that there's a task for you to do, right? Because it sounds like you told them that you would do something. Right. And so here's an example. Here I have two emails right here where I said, please invite me right back to Shaolin about some SQL logs being full for a given client. Here's another one where would you please update me on the following items, which was an email that came into me. Right. And so it's saying, hey, is this done? Do you want to open this email? These sounds like action items that you need to take. Okay, so that's the little bit of an intelligence. And these are previous ones where it's asking me, is there something that needs to be done? Then down here towards the bottom, it says, hey, Fernando, Kennedy, Napoleon, and Shane are team members of yours. You haven't had a one-on-one with them for a while. Would you like to schedule a one-on-one? And as you can see here, the drop down are the available times that both Fernando and I have open on our calendars. And so if I hit send invite, it takes care of it. And I automatically have a one-on-one schedule with Fernando. major oversight, by the way. This currently does not make it a Teams meeting. Ironically, you think it would. So if you want to make it a Teams meeting, you have to go back in and make it a Teams meeting. I'm assuming that's just a small oversight on Microsoft's part, and they'll make that adjustment. But nonetheless, it's kind of slick, and it sees who your team members are, and then how often you are doing your one-on-ones. Okay, and that's really around the staying connected. Now, protecting my time is about, Kip, you're in back-to-back meetings. Where's your focus time, right? Where are you actually getting deep work done? And according to this, it's saying, hey, you have a slot available from 5 to 6. And I saw this yesterday, and I marked it as focus time. So actually on my calendar right now, 5 to 6 is focus time. It's already blocked, and it's showing that I blocked those 2 segments today and on Thursday. And if I wanted to, I could remove those slots if I wanted to. And then I can expand this out and see these other slots that it automatically booked. So as you can see, literally all of next week, I have focus time automatically scheduled on my calendar. I didn't schedule that. I let Viva Insights schedule that for me and block off those times. Okay. And by default, if I remember correctly, the meetings that get scheduled around focus time are automatically set up to not disturb. So when I'm in those meetings, my team's status will switch to not disturb. So then that way I'm not getting tray notifications when people are trying to chat with me, right? Or ping me, or do an app mention within different teams. Okay. The other thing is this ready to wrap up virtual commute. I think this is, I don't know why, I think this is kind of cool. So one of the things that we do at JourneyTEAM, or at least I try to promote to my team to do, I don't think they do it. They say they do, but I don't think they do. But we try to, or at least I think we try to, is wrap up your day, right? And this is, I'm going to get a little bit on a tangent, right? But productivity lies in us being intentional and present in that in which we're doing. And anyone that has kids, that hanging out with your kids and having meaningful time and checking your email at the same time doesn't work, right? If anything, you end up coming across more of a jerk. You're upset. You're trying to multitask. It's not plausible. And so there's so much value in saying, hey, when I'm done with my day, I'm done with my day, and I'm ending my day. And so and ironically enough, before Insights came out with this, we kind of came up with end of day tasks, right? And our end of day tasks are reviewing of your emails of like, hey, is there any critical issues that I can put to rest that I don't have to think about when I get home? Is there any urgent emails? Review my calendar tomorrow, see if there's anything pressing that I need to know about. What tasks that I create today that might be important? And then stop working, right? And for us also, it's entering our time since we're consultants, right? We got to log our time. And we did that. And then this virtual commute came out, and what do you know? And maybe I'm just saying this so I sound like I'm really smart because I came up with this idea before Microsoft did. But as you can see here, what does it do? Finish up your day. Hey, here's some tasks. Did you enter your time yet? Right? Here's another task. Did you define the roles and responsibilities for the team lead position? Right? Is there other tasks that you need to complete tomorrow? Right? So I'm going to say, after action review on BTS presentation, right? I want to do like a review of how did this go. I'm going to add that as a task for tomorrow, and I'm going to hit next. Next up on the virtual commute, hey, here's your meetings tomorrow. You have a meeting at 8 a.m. You better be ready, right? Then we got Expedition Tech leaders, stand up, line tree, right? I got this. This is my meeting, right? Looking good. I review that. Moving on. Hey, how are you feeling today? Very good. I feel great. And then lastly, once this loads, it will load Headspace and say, hey, do you want to do a guided meditation to kind of like decompress, right, from the workday? And then if I just hit next, I have wrapped up my virtual commute, and now I'm ready for the next day. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's cover a couple more things on Insights, and then I'll turn the time back over to Mr. Tenney. So the other aspects that we don't quite see yet in the Microsoft Teams app are available on the cloud. So if I go to our Microsoft 365 tenant and I go to Viva Insights, it will take me to the web version of Viva Insights. Now, by the way, Microsoft Viva Insights This part is what's replacing My Analytics, which existed before Insights. So you're going to see Microsoft kind of marrying these two worlds together, and you'll see that it's not really complete, right? So on the Microsoft Viva homepage, I see top collaborators, and I'm going to get off this screen because it's not that valuable. The minute I navigate over to personal, you'll see it launches a new tab, and it takes me to the original myanalytics.microsoft.com, which, to be frank, has more content, right, than the Insights homepage does, right? So I'm assuming this will just eventually get moved over to Insights. So let's talk about these briefly to provide some value. So how many quiet days have I had over the last month? 7. Focus time, right, versus just emails and chats and meetings, right? And I can see this summary. Now, here's the cool part. I can dive into each of these areas. So focus, it'll actually show me, or I can plan my focus windows. I can see where most of my time is spent on focus or collaboration with people, right? AKA meetings, emails, and chats. If I switch over to well-being, I can kind of see these quiet times that are available to me. So it's not a good sign when more than half of my quiet days are on Saturday and Sunday. and that's it, right? So probably some work-life balance that I need to work on. On the network side, I thought this was super cool. I could see who I'm mostly collaborating with most of the time and how many hours I'm collaborating with these group of individuals versus tier 2 versus tier 3, and then what external contacts I'm mostly collaborating with. If I switch over to the collaboration side, I can actually, and this is probably, I think this is probably more insightful than anything, is what are my meeting habits, right? So 57% of my meetings don't have an overlap, AKA 40% of them do, right? High attendance, I only attend 63% of my meetings. On time, only 85%, right? That should be 100. Invitations sent at least one with a 1-day notice is 92%. No emails and chats. So that's kind of good. I'm not multitasking the meeting. I'm actually listening versus chatting and sending emails. And then 98% of my meetings are during working hours. So I'm not having too many meetings that are being pushed to like off hours. And then the fact that I have reports, I can actually see who my team is. And then I could see how I am affecting the team. So this is how many meetings I schedule that don't overlap with something that they already done. When they join on time, how many of the team members, my team members, RSVP to the invite? 81% of them do, right? I didn't multitask with those meetings with my team, right? And my meetings, almost actually 100% of my meetings are an hour or less in time. Okay, and then I can also see where my one-on-ones are looking like, and when's the last time I had a one-on-one with those particular team members. Okay, and then lastly here, this is the impact of me on my team and how much I'm sending emails and chats and what their email and chat percentage looks like, and then how many quiet days they get out of the last 28 across the board. Okay, so this is my personal insights with a little bit of the leadership insights. Microsoft announced these will actually be part of the Viva Insights app, and they will actually show up here across the top eventually. The last thing I'd want to call out is, and it's kind of interesting, there is a whole other play called Workspace Analytics. And the Workspace Analytics, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit gray about, mostly because I didn't want to purchase the license for it, and it's really expensive. But think of it as an organizational-wide analytics around how people are doing the same things I just showed you, but instead of on the personal level and the team level, it's like org-wide. So if you guys are interested in those kind of analytics, a little bit more priced, you're not part of the quote-unquote Microsoft Viva Insights package, but something to look at if there's an interest there today. So everything I showed you is what exists today. Coming later this month are the insights, the new insights around managers. I'm assuming that's showing up in the mobile app, an improved focus time experience, delayed delivery nudges in Outlook, where we can actually nudge notifications coming from Outlook, Headspace recommendations via email, and then compatibility with multiple languages in Headspace, and then coming soon, take that for a grain of salt, coming in the future, more analytics and insights around effective meetings and quiet time settings. The one thing I failed to mention is the Viva Insights email. And I don't have my email client up and I don't want to waste much more time, but that email is a daily email that you can configure for your tenant, and every employee would get those insights. And it's kind of like, hey, here's your upcoming meetings in the morning and here's some recommendations. Pretty much the same data that I already showed you, but some of it being packaged up in an email and sent out via an email. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep rolling because I think I got the next topic, which is topics, and then I'll move this on over to Brent. So topics is interesting, and Viva Topics is a little bit of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and a little bit of like a knowledge base feel within your environment. And what we experience today is much different than kind of the long-term plan. I think it's been a little bit slow going. By the way, Viva Topics was the first Viva module that was made available to us. In Ignite, it was the one that had virtually no updates in regards to changes. They're coming, but no recent changes around topics. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but nonetheless, there hasn't been much changes around the topics conversation. But let me show you what topics is today. So first off, Viva Topics, it will eventually have a Teams app and Teams interaction. But at this moment, Viva Topics is pretty much resides in email or not email, pretty much resides in SharePoint and search. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I have a Viva Topics Center already configured, but let's just assume from a user's perspective, this is how it's going to go out. So I'm going to search for VUMC, which is one of our clients, and I'm going to hit search. And you can see here on my breadcrumb, I'm searching for VUMC within our intranet that we call Basecamp. If I switch the breadcrumb over to the org level, which means that these search results I'm getting across all content that I have access to across the 365 tenant, any SharePoint site, my OneDrive, what else? I don't know, 365, take it for granted. This box right here at the top, Vanderbilt University Medical Center, that's Viva Topics. I didn't create that. Machine learning created that for us. If I actually click on this card and I go into it, this is what Microsoft calls a topic page. And so you can see that we created a topic center and this topic page got provisioned. Now, here's what's kind of neat. This value came from this PDF. For other topics, this definition comes from Wikipedia or even like external sources, and that's where it gets its summary from. So this summary actually came from a PDF document that resides within our ecosystem. Based upon interactions with related documents and relationships of individuals and meetings and other criteria, here's the suggested people that I might want to contact regarding VUMC. And institutional knowledge is these people are part of the VUMC project team. That's why they're in here, right? And then I could see suggested files regarding VUMC. Everything from proposals to information architecture documents to cloud assessment design documents and etc. So I could see all these documents, and ironically, these documents are all over the place, right? This document is coming from the project, our project collaboration space. This document's coming from a sales team. This document's coming from a different project space. It's finding documents related to VUMC across the entire ecosystem and pulling them in. As I scroll down, then there's corresponding suggested sites related to VUMC. And then I can see that there's a relationship between the Vanderbilt University Medical Center topic page and the topic page called Estimate of Work. And I can click on the Estimate of Work and navigate to that particular topic page. And once again, I get the same kind of content. I get a summary content across the top. I see points of contact that I should probably consider contacting, as well as suggested files, and then even more relationships between an estimate of work and a scope of work. Okay, and this is what is being created via that machine learning, are these topic pages. Now, because I'm an administrator, I can hop into here and click on getting started, or I can actually, let me click on the home page here, and I can see that Viva Topics is kind of confirming some stuff. Do you want to be listed as, should I be listed as a person on this topic? Yeah, sure, I know what that is. Oh, Microsoft Viva, I'm an expert now, right? Because we were obviously talking about it. Information architecture, and so it's getting opinions from me about providing some value and if I should be a connection for those given topics. I can go to manage topics, and here's all the topics that Viva Topics has created. And so I can navigate through these, and it's coming up with all kinds of stuff. Sage, Google Analytics, Extra Space Storage, Microsoft Flow, OneDrive for Business, Skype, Facebook, Azure AD, you get the idea, right? And there's all these topics that it has scrubbed and suggest that these be topic pages. And then as an administrator, I can come in here and say, OneDrive for Business, yeah, you know what? Let's confirm that topic. And I'm going to go ahead and publish it for consumption as an available topic for the users within our environment. And I can see which ones I've confirmed, which ones I've published, and which topics I have removed. And a good example of removing a topic is like, for instance, I used this analogy earlier, like Basecamp. We call that our intranet, but there's a software project called Basecamp. And so that topic page thinks that it's the Basecamp software tool, not our intranet. So I can actually go into the topic page, and we can alter the topic pages just like any other SharePoint page. And I can alter the pinned contacts, I can alter the documents, and I can insert my own web parts on topic pages and make them a little bit more of a rich experience for our users to consume. Okay, now let me cover, I think there's one more, or actually a couple more things I wanted to cover here. So let's show, so that's one interaction, right? I search and I find a topic page, and then that topic kind of branches out to multiple sources related to it. Another thing that we can do is, you'll notice here, I'm going to go to our policy procedures area on our intranet. And I think it was underneath our 365 information architecture. Okay, so as I go into this page, you'll notice here that SharePoint has an underline under it. I didn't do that. Topics did that. If I mouse over, then I get this summary topic card that provides me a summary of what SharePoint is, who's the primary contacts, and possible resources. And from here, I can actually click on SharePoint, and that will take me to the topic page. Now, imagine this is the future of Viva Topics. This little flyout, imagine that happening all over the place. So imagine that happening in the Teams chat where Brent and I are having a conversation. I type SharePoint, SharePoint becomes a hyperlink. I can mouse over SharePoint and see the definition of it. Or I get an email from a client and it says SharePoint, and that is a hyperlink. That's where Topics starts getting powerful, where it provides these intelligent topic cards, if you want to use that term, to give me insights into the information that we're talking about. Another example of this, believe it or not, is available within Word. So I'm in this old Word document that Brent did, probably SharePoint 2016 deployment doc, and I searched within Microsoft Word for JourneyTEAM. What do I get here? Right here, a topic page built into Microsoft Office app. Okay, so that's the future of Topics, where it's going to show up in multiple areas. Now, here's the thing that I want you guys to consider, and I don't know quite the answer, and I'll hurry up and wrap up because we're only halfway through and I'm talking way too much. How does this work, right? What does this look like in our organizations? And one thing I'd suggest, the topic page is not the knowledge base. The topic page is the topic that links out to knowledge, right? You'll notice that when I had those topic pages up, it was, here's all the resources, right? Here's all the people regarding this topic. Now we can create our own topic pages as well. So I could see organization utilizing the topic center to for abbreviations and like a dictionary, a glossary within their company and linking out to relevant documents. I could see it as a launch pad into multiple systems. And that's one of the features coming soon in the future, is really our ability to integrate with other providers and having other connectors. So what's available today? Topic management dashboard, which I showed you. Multi-geographic support is available today. controlling the visibility of suggested topics. That was me publishing them and improving them. And then the topic center within the Teams app. Now, ironically enough, in our tenant, there's no topic center in the Teams app quite yet. So maybe that's available today, or maybe it hasn't fully rolled out to everyone's tenants. Coming soon is those topic cards that I showed you in SharePoint, showing up in Teams, showing up in Outlook, showing up in Yammer. Then our ability to have connectors through the graph to other data sources. So now we can have the topic, Viva Topics, generate topic pages based upon maybe data from Dynamics or other HRIS systems and et cetera. Routing of Q&A with experts through Yammer, believe it or not, as well as topics being generated and created through the taxonomy and through syntax. So those are all things coming in the near future. Super powerful stuff. I think this is really powerful. I think, though, how it gets implemented may vary drastically between companies and how they manage knowledge. But I think there's a huge opportunity here for a lot of our clients in their near future. They just need to figure out how it looks like uniquely for them. All right, let's hop into Viva Learning. I'm going to keep the slide at this view so you can just take over quickly. So.
Yep. So Viva Learning is the new professional development learning hub that Microsoft's provided. I wouldn't call it a full LMS system yet, although I think they're definitely heading that direction. But is what it does right now is essentially aggregate learning opportunities, courses, training materials from across a variety of content providers and puts them all in your work stream where you're working today in Teams. And so it's a Teams app that you can pull up within Teams and get access to all this content. You don't have to go out to these different places. You don't have to go search for it. It's right there, available and accessible to you. I'll try to move through this quickly. We'll show you what it looks like real quick. So let me just share my screen.
And by the way, I think I'm probably more excited about learnings than any other.
I think it's cool, and it's going to get cooler. It's pretty cool already, but it's going to get quite a bit cooler too. So this is the learning app. I just click over here on my Viva Learning app. I get to this home page. You can see up at the top there's home and learning. Those are the two available for your base license. If you get the Viva suite, you get access to these other sections that we'll talk about. So on the learning homepage, I get these featured sets, some courses that my administrator of Viva has recommended to me as placed up there as a top priority thing. And then I've got the search option. I can search for courses on any subject. Let's say I search for SharePoint. It's going to pull up a bunch of different courses, and they're from all sorts of different sources. This is from LinkedIn Learning. This is from Microsoft Learning. I think if I get down here a little bit further, I've got some other ones as well. Maybe not on SharePoint. Let's look at data. You can see I've got some different data, some content providers there with courses available. And I can pick a course from the search, and I could jump right into it. And I can just go right into the course if I want. I've also got some other options here. I can share it. I can send a link to this course here in the Viva Learning app to a colleague. I could email it. I could drop it in Teams chat, whatever I want. I've also got this option to recommend courses. And from colleague to colleague, that may not seem terribly useful, but as a manager, I think that's amazing. You can just say, hey, I recommend this course to either my whole team or these individuals, and then we'll talk about how we can follow up on that after. And then for my personal use, I can bookmark this course as one that I'm interested in. I can take a look at later. Below the search, they've got this little dashboard with some recently viewed and bookmarked courses, ones that are based on my interests, and I can actually edit this and choose, hey, here are the topics I'm interested in, and I can choose which ones I want it to find me courses related to these things, and they'll show up here. And then I've got this course browser, this course catalog, I call it. You've got 3 different ways of looking at it by my interests, and you can see it just tacks all my interests there in courses related to those topics. By providers, so if I wanted to see, just this is our internal JourneyTEAM content, or some of these other content providers that I've linked in here, LinkedIn Learning and Microsoft Learn are included by default. Or by duration, if I know, hey, I've only got 15 minutes or 10 minutes to look at a course, I can find courses that are based on, oh, they're not showing up, but there they go. just 10 minutes. If I've only got 10 minutes to go and learn something, I can jump right in and do that. If I've got an hour free, I can jump in and find courses that are that long, or 2 hours. And so it gives it to me by length of course, basically. So that's home. Now in My Learning, I get access to courses that I've bookmarked, first of all. So I've got this library of courses that I'm interested in taking. Also, if someone recommends courses to me, they show up here under recommended to me, and I can take a look at them there and see what people have recommended or my recently viewed, and then my course history, what I've completed. If I've got the Viva license, I can see my recommendations and if they've been acted on. So right here, I recommended a course to Kip, and this one I can see here that he completed that course. And this one I can see that he's got it still in progress. He's working on that. And then on the admin tab, I've got this option for enabling trending content, and I can create these featured sets that show up at the top of the home page for all of our Viva Learning users. The banner. Yeah, this banner of courses that gets recommended here. And then just real quick, I wanted to show you that's how you would recommend a course to someone. I can just throw it in there. And then when I recommend a course, they're going to get in Teams. It'll show up in their activity feed. It'll say, Brent recommended this course to you, and give you a link to it. It'll show up in the tray notifications. And then, like I said, we can track it here under the Manage tab, and you'll see it under My Learning recommended to you, and I'll see it under the Manage tab as a recommendation that I've made. And then the only thing I was going to show is as you go through a course, you can mark its status to show that you're working on it or you've completed it. The one other area I want to talk about was in terms of content providers. I mentioned this briefly, but you can actually add your own content, custom organizational content. And I've done that. You can see on the first content provider here listed is JourneyTEAM LLC. And that's done in the SharePoint, or I'm sorry, not SharePoint. In the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, there's this Viva Learning section. If you go into the settings, and then you can turn on these different content providers. These are the ones they've got available, and this is probably useful to see. Cornerstone, Coursera, edX, GoOne, InfoSec, Josh Burson Academy, LinkedIn Learning, Microsoft Learning, Microsoft Security. Those are available by default. Pluralsight, SabaCloud. Some of these need subscriptions to be able to make use of their content, obviously. And then SharePoint is the one that I can turn on and customize myself. So I turn on the SharePoint option. I give it a site. And out on that site, it's going to create a library or a list called the Learning App Content Repository. And in that list, I'll go list other folders or libraries that have things like Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoints, PDFs, audio files, video files, and those will show up. Those files will actually show up in the Learning app as courses available to me.
So the files aren't located, they don't have to be uploaded to that SharePoint document library. They're just referenced in the content as source.
Exactly. That's just a list that can point out to libraries anywhere in my environment that they're available. It'll respect security, so if I don't have access to this, I'm not going to be able to see these courses here, but it's a way for us to customize our own content and show it here.
Very cool.
So it's neat, and let's jump back to the slides real quick if you don't mind sharing again. So that's how it exists today. It's this Teams app that gives you this aggregated set of content for learning. It makes it easy to recommend others, to follow up on those recommendations and see the courses that might be interested to you based on topic. But then what's coming in the future is they're going to be adding in LMS assigned and completion sync. So to these other learning management systems they're integrated to, you'll be able to mark it as complete over there and it'll show up as complete in Microsoft Learning. They'll get more intelligent about the recommended courses and things like that. Learning paths, and then better reporting and analytics. And they're going to release some APIs so we can customize it even more, I hope. So should be pretty cool. It's got a ways to go before it's like a real full LMS system, but it's a good start. I like it.
All right, so let's talk about, you want to mute really quick, Brent. So let's talk through that last module and kind of give you guys some insights into also the licensing, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, get ready for that. So this is the OKR integration. So Microsoft made a play. They purchased, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Ali.io recently, which does really company OKRs, team goals, and personal roll-ups into overall company strategies and initiatives. This is going to be the 5th module that will be part of the Viva family. Super cool. We don't have much more info other than what the product is and some screenshots of what it would potentially look like integrated within Microsoft Teams. Now, let's talk about the Viva Suite license. So in the past, Viva Connections, free. Well, I shouldn't say that. Included in certain Microsoft 365 subscriptions. You get Connections today. Viva Topics was a different licensing SKU, $4 per user to take advantage of Viva Topics. Viva Insights, I believe, was an additional $4 per user for the Insights license. Microsoft announced last week at Ignite, they've created a new licensing SKU called the Microsoft Viva Suite. This suite includes Insights, Learning, Topics, and the 5th module. And I believe currently right now it's $9 per user for the entire suite, and will include the 5th module when it's made available next year. So that's available. That's what the licensing looks like. Anything else, Brent? I mean, look, let's just move it over to Q&A. If you guys have any questions, put it in the chat or in that Q&A box. We roughly have, I don't know, 5-7 minutes.
Have
Right?
about 8
So
minutes
if you guys have
left.
Yep.
Yeah. So Ben Barrett asked, can you add multiple different URLs?
For the topic
learning.
sources for learning?
Yeah, yep. You can list as many different libraries or folders in SharePoint as you want. So I just picked one there in that example I showed you, but you could have 10 or 100 or however many you want. So you can really get customized. They're SharePoint folders or libraries that you're linking to there. That's what it's crawling. Good question. Anything else about that, Ben? Did that answer it? Yeah, Mark, I like to think of Viva as this toolbox for employees. It's got all these different things that'll help the information workers in your organization be more effective and efficient with their time.
Other questions, guys? Anything? I'm curious, in Mark and Ben, I don't know, but your guys' thoughts on topics. You know, do you guys see that playing a part in your orgs? I'll be honest, for me, it's a little gray, right? Like, it's like, well, this is kind of powerful, but I'm also struggling with like, what does this really look like a little bit, right? In a practical day-to-day, world, right, within an organization. So anyhow, I think it's neat, but I'm wondering if it's more of a shiny object more than it is a practical tool. So yeah, Don's thinking the same thing. Hopefully we'll find a home for it that it makes sense. So any opinions, guys, on, I don't know, what modules are looking most appealing? I actually think, to provide a little bit more value, and we probably looked, you know, one of you guys mentions like a fire hose, right? We just really dumped a whole lot of data on you. One thing I don't like about Viva Connections, if you don't mind me getting on the soapbox, I don't like that it's in Teams. I actually like this idea that, like, I jump over the fence to Teams for secured collaboration, and formal company stuff is over here on the internet, right? I kind of like that feeling. Having it in Teams, I'm kind of like, I don't know. But the main thing from a functionality or technical perspective is really search. Do you want to kind of cover that a little bit? Because I know we were a little upset when we found out how search works.
Yeah, the search experience isn't great. SharePoint has a pretty robust search engine. Team search is not good yet, and it'll get better, I think, but it's not there yet. And right now, the experience, if you're in the Viva Connections app and you go to do a search, it'll give you the option to search in Viva Connections, and that doesn't keep you in the Teams experience. It actually kicks you out to your browser window to the SharePoint search results page for whatever search topic you entered. And it's kind of a weird, incongruous experience right now. They really just need to enhance the search in Teams, and I'm sure they will, but it's not there yet. So there are another couple of things that don't quite work right. We've got, for example, some Power App integrations on our Basecamp intranet site. And those render fine in the browser, but inside of the Teams Viva Connections experience, they don't. They error out and it can't authenticate properly back to Power Apps, so it doesn't work right. So there are a couple glitches there that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, what we did with that Power App was not against industry standard, right? This isn't something like JourneyTEAM hacked SharePoint, now it doesn't work in Teams. We're following industry standard, and it doesn't know how to handle a Power App drawer, you know what I mean, through the Teams interface. So something to look out for.
So really, like with all new Microsoft technologies, this is version 1, and you want to let it mature a little bit.
Yeah, I do feel though, Mark, if I had to summarize the modules, Insights is pretty much a black box, right? So if what you saw today, you're like, hey, that's valuable, then you just turn it on, right? So Viva Insights, I could see having some immediate value. I actually think Viva Learning is going to get some value. Like I actually think we're going to see organizations take adoption of Viva Learning fairly quick because it doesn't exist today, right? So if a company doesn't have an LMS, this is a really nice, like poor man's version of handling an LMS and knowing that it's just going to get better over time. So I could see that being used. Topics, a little bit tougher. Viva Connections, maybe a little bit tougher as well. Yeah.
All right, if there's no other questions, I just reshared the link to the survey. Please take a moment. It should just take a minute to fill that out and give us your feedback there.
And since there's only like 4 of you, we know if one of you didn't take it, so we'll find you. And by the way, Mark, with max attendance, I mean, you owe me like lunch or something, because me and Brent were like, we don't present for less than 200 people normally. So this is, below our pay scale. Cool. Ben, Don, Mark, thanks guys for joining. And actually feel free to reach out to us too. Even if it's from, hey, we've been using Viva this way, and you want to share, we'd love to hear how you guys might potentially be seeing it. We don't practice a scarcity mentality, so we're all about providing value and having others provide value to us. So we'd love to hear what you guys end up doing.